Good times. Did you know women play an important part in the biblical story of redemption and atonement of mankind? People who don't really know what the Bible's about think God is some kind of great cosmic chauvinist who only chooses men to do the really cool stuff. But women have always played key roles in God's work on earth, and not just Eve or Mary. Two such women are Naomi and Ruth, the stories told in the Old Testament. Ruth's sister-in-law was Orpah. Now, little piece of information, popular information. Did you know Oprah Winfrey's name was misspelled on her birth certificate? She was supposed to be named after this lady, Orpah. Okay, there you go. Now you know that. Now you can say that to anybody you want to say it to. Back to Ruth. She was the great-grandmother of King David. Little is known of her personal history other than what we're going to learn this morning, but her genealogy is given in Luke chapter 3. She was from the tribe of Judah, the lineage of David, the same words that they use for Jesus Christ. There's many stories in the Bible that serve as an encouragement to our hearts. The story of Ruth is no exception. Many of us look at this little book. I mean, it's hard to find in script, little tiny book, which was written during the time of the Judges, and see nothing more than a love story. But the bigger picture is that of a lost sinner who, through divine guidance and providence, is brought into relationship with Jehovah and is made to be an ancestor of the Lord Jesus Christ. Let's read part of Ruth chapter 1. I'm reading for the New International Version. In the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land. So a man from Bethlehem in Judah, together with his wife and 2 sons, went to live for a while in the country of Moab. The man's name was Elimelech, his wife's name was Naomi, and the names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion. They were Ephrathites from Bethlehem, Judah, and they went to Moab and lived there. Now Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left with her 2 sons. They married Moabite women, one named Orpah and the other Ruth. After they had lived there about 10 years, both Mahlon and Chilion also died, and Naomi was left without her 2 sons and her husband. When Naomi heard in Moab that the Lord had come to the aid of his people by providing food for them, she and her daughters-in-law prepared to return home from there. With her 2 daughters-in-law, she left the place where she had been living and set out on the road that would take them back to the land of Judah. Then Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, "Go back, each of you, to your mother's home. May the Lord show you kindness as you have shown kindness to your dead husbands and to me. May the Lord grant that each of you will find rest in the home of another husband." Then she kissed them goodbye, and they wept aloud, and said to her, "We will go back with you to your people." But Naomi said, "Return home, my daughters. Why would you come with me? Am I going to have any more sons who could become your husbands? Return home, my daughters. I am too old to have another husband, even if I thought there was still hope for me. Even if I had a husband tonight and then gave birth to sons, would you wait until they grew up? Would you remain unmarried for them? No, my daughters. It is more bitter for me than for you, because the Lord's hand has turned against me." At this they wept aloud again. Then Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. "Look," said Naomi, "your sister-in-law is going back to her people and her gods. Go back with her." But Ruth replied, "Don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates you and me." When Naomi realized that Ruth was determined to go with her, she stopped urging her. Let's go back to verse 1. In the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land. So a man from Bethlehem in Judah, together with his wife and 2 sons, went to live for a while in the country of Moab. Elimelech and his family, but Elimelech, head of the home, man was in charge, everyone followed what he said. He apparently had prayed, we're assuming he had, and decided to leave Israel. Now you think, oh, no big deal. If things go bad in Louisiana, we move to Texas for a while. When it gets better, we move back to Louisiana. That wasn't exactly how it happened. Now Israel is where Jehovah God was worshipped. Okay, Jehovah God, our God, was worshipped in Israel openly and daily. And he decided to move his family to Moab, where Jehovah God wasn't even considered. The Moabites had many gods, and Jehovah was not one of them. Moab was a pagan country. Now this story occurs about 1,200 to 1,500 years before Christ. This family of good standing had fallen on hard times. Crops had failed. Enemies had ravaged their fields and probably taken their property. They're at their lowest ebb, discouraged, depressed. They decided to go to Moab to live, where the crops were growing and people were living well. Now, they had been taught not to have anything to do with the idolatrous nations around them, not to touch them except with a sword. Naomi and Elimelech probably discussed what to do. They had 2 sons. I'm sure a thought went through their heads, which has probably gone through most of our heads. God isn't helping us, we need to help ourselves. But you know, let's not be too hard on them. Even though I was speaking just now, I could see some of you putting yourself in their position. Fairly soon after they settled in Moab, however, Elimelech died. The daddy died. Now maybe Naomi should have taken her sons and gone back to Israel, but the boys were growing up in Moab. They liked it. They found girlfriends there. I can hear the young men talking with each other about their girlfriends. They love us and we love them. What's the big deal that they're pagan? What's a little difference in religion anyway? Wish there was time this morning to preach this entire book. Don't worry, there isn't. What I would like to do is to look into the verses we've read this morning and pull out a little snapshot of the heart of this woman named Ruth. In these verses and throughout the book, we see Ruth a tremendous example of a steadfast life. She teaches us about remaining faithful when others around us do not.